Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning and welcome back to everyone. Are you there, guys?
Morning, Doctor. Good morning, Doctor.
Morning, Doctor. Yes. Morning, Doctor.
Before we start, make sure you mark your attendance through Putra Blast. Okay, make sure this time you mark your attendance through Putra Blast. I already uploaded the for this week lecture note in Putra Blast. Okay, for this week and onwards as well. Okay, you will download it from Putra Blast. Okay, shall we proceed?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, so this is for this week lecture, which is on instrumentation. Okay. Okay, so for both qualitative and quantitative, they have different fees in developing the instrument. But for this lecture, I will mostly focusing on instrumentation in quantitative research. Okay, so hopefully, even though some of you intended to do the qualitative research, but according to the course outline, so the instrumentation mostly focusing on quantitative. Okay. Okay. This one. Okay, so this is the LO for today's session. Okay, at the end of the session, students should be able to define instrumentation and measurement. Okay, and then define validity, identify different types of validity, define reliability, and then identify different types of reliability. So these are what we are going to focus today. Okay, and then the next one is describe about pilot study. So I thought this is the last LO. Okay, so first we need to you should be able to define what is instrumentation and measurement. For both qualitative and quanti, they have different, as what I said earlier, different phases when we develop the instrument. So perhaps in quantitative, okay, when we say that we are going to develop the instrument, it is related to how you are going to identify the items of the instrument or the questionnaire that can be used to evaluate your independent and dependent variables. Okay, and then for qualitative, perhaps it is related to on how you develop your research protocol. Okay, based on your RQ research questions, you need to further develop your research protocol. Okay, and then you are going to learn about validity. Okay, validity is related to how validity is related to the to what extent the instrument that you choose is measuring what you are going to measure. Okay, it is measuring what you are going to measure. Okay, and then reliability. Okay, in quantitative, the term that we use is validity, but in qualitative, okay, the term that provide the similar meaning would be trustworthiness. Okay, trustworthiness. Okay, and then identify different types of validity. Okay, there are around 4 types of validity that we are learned today. Okay, and then the next one is reliability. Okay, reliability is related to consistency. Okay, the consistency of your instrument. Okay, and then identify different types of reliability, and then lastly, describe about pilot study. Okay, so we are going to go through each of these LO today. Okay, for those who just joined us, please make sure you mark your attendance through Putra Blast. Okay, so the instrumentation is refers to tools tools or means by which investigators attempt to measure variables or items of interest in the data collection process. Okay, so instrument ni is related to tools that you are going to use, okay, for data collection purpose. Okay, by the way, just wondering lah, wondering, are all groups already shared their research design video recording? Guys? Hello, ada orang ke tak?
Belum ada.
Are all groups already shared their video recording related to research design?
Research design tak pasti tak tu. Kena check balik.
Kenapa saya tak
Rasanya
dengar?
belum.
Ya, Amira, ya.
Ingat. Rasanya belum ada. Rasanya belum.
Belum
Belum.
Belum, doktor. Belum rasanya.
Oh, untuk lab tu belum Lab 1 dah kan?
Lab 1 dah, doktor.
Lab 1 dah, lab 2 je belum?
Belum doktor sebab kami tak resign lagi doktor.
Memanglah you all lambat seminggu. Okay, so apalah itu session lain lah. Okay, so again instrumentation refers to tool or means which investigator attempt to measure variables or items of interest in the data collection process. For quantitative research, okay, instrumentation ni mostly related to the questionnaire. Okay, questionnaire that you use to collect your data. But for qualitative, okay, it is mostly related to your research protocol. If let's say your main tools for data collection is interview. Okay, but for your information, for both quali and quanti, not necessarily. For quanti, let's say for quanti, you have to do data collection only through questionnaire, and then for quali, you have to do data collection through interview. No, not necessarily. Okay, sometimes in quantitative, you also may conduct interview. And then in qualitative, also you may conduct the data collection through a questionnaire. Okay, it's possible. Either it is questionnaire, interview, content analysis, it's just a data collection tools. Okay, it is not necessarily fixed to only one method. Interview do not 100% belongs to qualitative, and then questionnaire not 100% belongs to quantitative. Okay, just these tools, all these either questionnaire or interview, just data collection tools. Okay, and then instrumentation comprises scientific activities and technologies that are related to measurement. Okay, so instrumentation it's related to scientific activities, okay, and it is closely linked to data collection process. Okay, and then it is related to instrument design, selection, construction, assessment, conditions under which the designated instruments are administered. Okay, so for in quantitative, there are specific steps for you to develop instrument. Okay, first it is related to how you design your instrument, how you choose, how you select, and then how you construct, and how you assess. It is related to one and another. Okay, so for those who do quantitative, it started with the first one when you identify your variables. Okay, then next you determine first you determine your operational definition of the variable. Okay, you identify your variable, you determine your operational definition, and then next one you should identify how you are going to measure this variable. Okay, it is related to measurement and instrument. Okay, so and then after you identify the instrument, okay, the instrument ni, Okay, as I said, in quantitative, when you say that you want to measure a certain variable, okay, the instrument you cannot find, you shouldn't, okay, you shouldn't find one instrument that measuring for all IV and DV. Mostly, okay, for each IVs you have a different instrument, different inventory, okay, and then for your DV you have different inventory or instrument. Okay, in quantitative, we mostly use the term instrument to reflect individual variables, either IVs or DV. Okay, the questionnaire we mostly use when we refer to the compilation of instrument in one questionnaire. So we call it questionnaire. Okay, and then how we are going to choose the instrument. Okay, and then how we construct. Okay, and then investigator need to describe thoroughly the instrument used to measure the dependent variables, outcomes, or the effects of intervention or treatments. Okay, so in which the researcher you need to describe. In chapter 3, okay, after you define your research design that you want to choose, for example, you want to choose quantitative, and then the specific research design is correlation. Okay, so then next stage is you need to clarify what are the instruments that what are the instruments and measurement that you are going to use to measure that particular variables. Okay, and then instrumentation involve the procedure of establishing instrument validity and reliability, as well as minimizing measurement error. So when the two process of validity and reliability ni, it is part of the process under selection selection and assessment. Okay, after we choose the instrument that we believe it can measure the variable, okay, and then we need to assess either it is correctly measuring our variable or not. Okay, validity ni again, the term ni reflect how the extent to which the selected instrument measured what you supposedly measure. Okay, and then reliability ni, it is related to the consistency of the instrument used. Okay, and instrumentation ni can be either questionnaire, interviews, observation, tests, field notes, accounts, documents, personal constructs, and role play. So these are examples of instrumentation or the data collection procedure that you can use, okay, for to get the data for your study. Okay, so next one is measurement. Okay, so measurement is related to assigning of numbers or quantification to individuals in a systematic way as a means of representing properties of the individual. Okay, and then it is reflect the numbers that can be assigned based on the properties to be measured utilizing various forms of depending upon the type of scale to be constructed. Okay, and then numbers can be assigned to subject in categories forming nominal scales in ranking form, okay, ordinal scales, or as continuous scores forming either interval or ratio. So measurement is mostly related to quantitative, because in qualitative mostly we do not deal with number. Okay, but in quantitative, yes, most of the time we deal with number. Okay, so when we are talking about measurement, there are four levels of measurement. Okay, so we have here, we have nominal, okay, we have ordinal, and then we have interval and ratio. Okay, so you need to remember these four levels of measurement. Okay, so a study that is related to measurement we call is metrology, which is defined as the field of knowledge concerned with measurement, metrology. Okay, and then the precision, the measurement is also related to precision or accuracy of the measurement used, which can lead to differing outcomes of research findings, and it could potentially limit the statistical analysis that could be performed on the data collected. So for those who do quantitative, as I said again, okay, when you want to choose the instrument to measure your variables, you need to consider their attributes. Okay, their attributes, because the attributes of each variable will determine what types of analysis, okay, suitable for this type of variable. So today we are going to study, okay, about the 4 attributes of quantitative data. Okay, 4 attributes or 4 level of measurement, scale of measurement in quantitative research. Okay, so this level of measurement has been introduced by Stanley Stevens in 1946, okay, in which Stevens wanted researchers to recognize that different varieties of measurement exist and that types of measurement fall into 4 proposed classes. So there are 4 classes: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Okay, and then these levels are distinguished by the properties they include and are hierarchical in the sense that a higher level of measurement includes the properties of those lower in the hierarchy. Okay, so boleh faham So, based on the hierarchy ni, okay, the lowest is actually nominal. Okay, followed with ordinal. Next one is interval and ratio. And then as what been stated by Stanley ni, he said that, okay, again, dia kata the properties they include and are hierarchical in the sense that the higher level of measurement includes the properties of those lower in the hierarchy. So meaning that, okay, the lower level is nominal. The next one is ordinal. So all the attributes of nominal also been held by ordinal level. Okay, and then for example the interval, okay, the interval ni will have all the properties of ordinal level of measurement as well. Okay, so ni apa yang dimaksudkan oleh Stanley ni. Maksudnya kesemua property attributes yang ada pada hierarchy yang bawah, okay, akan ada pada hierarchy yang lebih tinggi. Okay, faham So far faham?
Faham doktor.
Faham doktor.
Okay, good. So next one we are going to go in details on nominal. So what is nominal? Okay, so nominal reflects number that serve only to distinguish different categories and do not have any real numerical meaning. So maksudnya in this world there are certain variables that we cannot quantify. Okay, there are certain variables that we cannot quantify, but we can use number to represent group. Okay, so dalam konteks ni number ni dia tidak memberi maksud numerical. Okay, dia hanya kita gunakan number ni to represent a group, to represent a category. Okay, and then numbers distinguish the 2 categories of male and female but have no quantitative meaning. So this is an example lah. 1 we use to represent male, 2 we use to represent female. Or another example is we use 1 to represent Chinese, okay, 2 to represent Malay, 3 to represent Indian. For example, 3. Okay, in which this number ni, okay, based on the attribute ni, it do not have the quantitative meaning. Okay, it does not mean that when we say that 1 is Chinese, it means that Chinese is better than another races. No. Okay, in this context, numbering ni we just use to refer to the group. Okay, and then it is not appropriate to add, subtract or otherwise manipulate them numerically. So meaning to say when we use number to represent a certain group ni, dia tidak we cannot transform this data to get to get mean, average. Okay, for example lah, saya bagi. Okay, if let's say then I use 1 for male, 2 for female. Is it possible for me to get the mean for this male and female? Soalan saya. No. Right? So for example, kalau kita katakan add, we want to add 1 plus 2 because male and female we cannot add. But the number that we use to represent the group 1, male, 2, female. For example, we add 1 plus 2. The answer is, Ravish? 1 plus 2? Ravish?
Doktor, 3
Ha?
doktor. 3.
Good. So then, because we have 2 groups, so we divide by 2 to get the average. What is the answer?
1.5.
1.5. So 1.5 represent which gender? Faham? Saya buatkan sikit kot speaker saya. Okay, faham tak? Itu maksud dia. 1 ni to represent male, 2 to represent female. Okay, so dalam konteks tertentu, number ni kita tak boleh tambah ataupun tolak. Okay, sebab kalau let's say tambah 1 tambah 2, 3 dibahagi dengan 2. So 1.5 to represent which gender? Okay. Ada gender lain ke selain pada male and female? Okay.
Ada.
So itu maksud dia. So far faham kan? Make sure faham betul-betul. Sebab nanti takut you all akan confused with the next scale of measurement. Any question? So far? Okay, so this numbering ni, this coding lah. Somehow we use numbering ni, the name ni we call coding. Coding ni we use when we want to insert our data in SPSS. Okay, when we want to insert our data in SPSS, because we cannot in SPSS, the analysis is based on the numerical value. So therefore, we cannot insert our data by using male or female. Okay, therefore we use code 1, 2, or 3, 4, up to you. As long as you as a researcher, you know what does the coding means. Okay. So next one, it is ordinal. Okay. So ordinal ni represent a rank order of the properties of object. Okay, and then the rank order could be based on size, speed, importance, correctness, or any other property capable of being ranked. Example, outcomes of a race. Example, first place, second place, third place. Okay. And then to the property of distinctiveness, ordinal measures therefore add the property of order. Okay, although the number used in ordinal measurement imply rank order, the interval between adjacent scale points are not assumed to be equal. Okay, so remember apa yang what has been said by Stanley earlier. Okay, dia kata the higher level of scale of measurement will have the properties of the lowest level. So ordinal ni dia akan ada property that hold by nominal. Okay, but in addition, okay, so kalau compare kepada nominal earlier, okay, okay, compared to a nominal earlier, okay, nominal ni either you use 1 or 2, okay, for male or female, it doesn't reflect that a male is better than female. Okay, and then sometimes you also may use 1 to represent female, 2 to represent male. Okay, it does not have any problem. It does not have any implication. Okay, but for ordinal scale of measurement, it starts to have the rank order properties. Okay, it started to have the rank order properties, meaning that the numbering that you have will reflect the ranking order. Okay, it started to give you some meanings, which is rank. Okay, and then taking the outcomes of a race as an example, we know that the person finishing first is faster than the person finishing second, but we do not know how much. Okay, so saya balik yang ni dulu sebelum saya masuk ni. Okay, so faham dalam in nominal, okay, numbering ni do not reflect any meaning. You just use numbering to reflect a group. Okay, but in ordinal, numbering started to give meaning. Okay, for example, if you attend a marathon competition, okay, you have someone that has first place, okay, first runner up, second runner-up, and so on. Right? Okay, so the numbering here in ordinary is start to give meaning. Okay, which one is better than who? Okay, who better than who? Okay, but the other property that ordinal has is, okay, we do not exactly, we know that the first is better than second, but we do not know what are the differences between first and second. Okay, we do not know the interval. Okay, and then ordinal measures can be transformed in any way that preserve the original order. Okay, and then therefore we could substitute and use the number of 3, 18, and 21 for the numbers of 1, 2, and 3 without losing the properties of distinctiveness and order. Okay, and then because ordinal measures cannot assume to have equal intervals, it is not meaningful or appropriate to perform arithmetic operations such as addition or subtraction on them. Okay, so dalam case ordinal ni, we know that 1 is better than 2, 2 is better than 3. But since we do not know the intervals between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, because the interval is not necessarily similar. So that's why we cannot apply the arithmetic operation. Okay? Okay, faham We cannot get the mean because we do not know exactly the interval between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 18 and 5. Okay? And then items measured on the commonly used strongly disagree to strongly agree. So when you do your data when you do your data collection letter, most of the student will mostly use this Likert scale. Ranging from 1 to 5, for example, which is 1 represents strongly disagree and then 5 strongly agree. Okay, so this scale is actually, the original scale is ordinal. Okay, this is because we do not know whether respondents consider the psychological distance between strongly agree and agree to be the same as that between strongly disagree and disagree. Okay, or any other adjacent scale point. Faham tak? Any question? Dia macam ni in wording Okay, when you do your data collection, you use the scale 1 to represent strongly disagree, 2 to represent disagree. Okay, how much is actually the difference between disagree and strongly disagree? Is it 5? Is it 3? Is it 10? Itu dia punya.
We don't know.
We do not know. And then sometimes the people, our respondent tick for 2. For example, saya tunjuk ni. Annotate. Okay. 1 strongly disagree. 2 represent disagree. 3 represent neutral. 4 represent agree. 5 represent strongly agree. So for example, we have 5 Likert scale. Okay, strongly disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree. Okay, so for example, Pravesh give answer. Lama. Tak boleh nak gerakkan lah pula. Saya kecil ambil ni. Strongly agree. Okay, 2 is 3, 3, 4, 3, strongly. Okay, so for example, we have this 5 Likert light scale. Okay, so for example, Pravesh choose neutral. Okay, Pravesh choose neutral, for example. And then Shaza pun choose neutral juga. Okay, but even though these two respondents choose neutral as their answers, okay, how sure are we, okay, the level of the neutralness between these two respondents are similar? Okay, similar to those who choose, for example, disagree. Okay, how sure are we, okay, all the respondents that choose disagree has similar has similar level of disagreement. Is it 2.1? Because sometimes I disagree, but a little bit not a little bit lower than strongly disagree. And then Pravish ni perhaps his disagreement is I just disagree. We do not know the differences between the level of disagreement itself. Okay, faham Sometimes ada orang yang bila disagree tu dia betul-betul disagree, yang betul-betul disagree. Some people dia disagree tapi dia setakat saya tak setuju je. Okay, faham kita tak tahu, we do not know exactly the differences ni. Even though we take for disagree, number 2, but the level of disagree ni we do not know exactly how much it is. Okay, faham Boleh bezakan dengan nominal tadi? Can you now differentiate between nominal and ordinal?
Yes.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, doctor. Very good. Okay, so the next one is interval. Ni senang sikit. Okay, again, I repeat. Okay, the higher level, the higher ranking of the measurement will have all the properties of the lower level of scale of measurement. So meaning that interval ni will has all the properties that nominal has, will has the property that ordinal has, and then now in addition to the property of distinctiveness and order that hold by ordinal, the interval measure ni have the property of equal intervals. Ini dia punya property. Kalau dalam ordinal tadi we have some ranking, but we do not know the differences between two rankings ni. But in interval we know that each ranking ni now will have similar interval. Okay, they will have similar interval. For example, this one, interval ni dia reflect your ruler. Interval ni will reflect your ruler. In which we know exactly the differences between 1 and 2. Okay, which is they have 10 interval. Okay, the differences between 2 and 3. They have 10 intervals. Exactly 10 intervals between 1, 2, 3 and so on. Okay, so this means that the intervals between adjacent scale points are assumed to be the same across the entire scale continuum. Okay, a common example of interval level measurement is temperature. Okay, as measured by Fahrenheit or centigrade scales, in which the difference in heat between scale points of 50 degrees degree Fahrenheit and 51 Fahrenheit is the same as the difference between 90 Fahrenheit and 91 Fahrenheit. Okay, and then interval measures can be transformed through any linear transformation of the form of y equals a plus bx because of their equal interval property. Okay, and then it is appropriate to calculate nearly all parametric statistics such as mean, standard deviation and correlation from interval level data. Okay, so again in this interval compared to ordinal, okay, the property ni, the differences between number 1 and number 2 tu, they have similar interval. So that's why we know exactly the differences between 1, 2, 2 and 3, 3 and so on. Okay. Okay, and then if you have the variable with this scale of measurement, okay, it is appropriate for you to calculate the mean, standard deviation and correlation. Okay. Okay, clear about interval? Example of the interval yang paling senang adalah temperature. Okay, temperature. Another attributes of interval ni other than it has the equal interval is it also has non-absolute zero. Another property dia. Okay, zero in interval do not means that it do not have any attributes. Zero means something in interval. Okay, so for example, temperature. If let's say you are at 0 degree Celsius, is it means that there is no temperature at all?
No.
No, because at degree Celsius, at 0 degree Celsius, you are actually freezing. Okay. Okay. So next one is ratio. Okay, the ratio is the highest levels of Stevens 1946 level of measurement. The highest. Okay, so again, if let's say we say the highest, the ratio will has all the properties that hold by interval, ordinal, and nominal. Okay, and in addition to the properties of distinctiveness, order, and equal intervals, distinctiveness ni we use in nominal, order ni in nominal, in ordinal, equal intervals ni in intervals, and then ratio level measurement has the property of a true 0 point. True 0 point. Maksudnya 0 ni bermaksud kosong. Kosong bermaksud kosong. Okay? A true 0 point is the one that represent the absolute lack of the property they measured. Kosong ni maksudnya memang tak ada langsung the attribute. For example, okay, let's say I want to borrow 50 ringgit from Pravesh. Okay, but in his wallet, Pravesh got none, got nothing. For example je Pravesh. Okay, so when we say that Pravesh got no money, so is it possible to borrow the 50 ringgit from him?
No.
So 0 at that point means nothing, absolute 0. Okay, and then another example, if let's say you are driving at 0 kilometer per hour, is it a car moving?
No.
No.
Okay, itulah the attribute ratio. Okay, and then the Kelvin temperature scale is on a ratio scale because on that scale, tak payahlah ni. Okay, so any question regarding the 4 scale of measurement? Can you now differentiate between the 4 scale of measurement? This is dia punya the summary lah. Okay, the summary. Okay, the nominal ni we use number to represent the category, to just differentiate. Okay, 1 to represent male, 2 to represent female, or sometimes you can choose 1 to represent female, 2 to represent male. Okay, we use number to differentiate the categories, but the numbering do not give any meaning. Okay, and then the order scale, ordinal scale of measurement. Okay, we use numbering to differentiate between the categories. Okay, and then the next attribute is the numbering that we use started to give meaning, which is order. We arrange the numbering according to the ranking order. Okay, kalau this one, 1 to represent male, 2 to represent female, 1 ni doesn't mean that one male ni better than female. Okay, but in ordinal, we use numbering 1 male, 2 female. Okay, but it started to give meaning. So saya tak nak guna example one male, two female lah. Okay, I group example for the first place, first runner up, third runner up. It started to give meaning. Okay, first, second, third. So kita dah tak boleh suka-suka tukar the order dah. Kita tak boleh tukar tiba-tiba tukar 3 to represent the first place, 2 to represent the third place, 1 to represent the second place. Jadi kita dah tak boleh tukar. Numbering to start to give the order. Faham Faham?
Faham doktor.
Faham doktor.
Okay, so the weaknesses of ordinal ni, okay, walaupun kita tahu siapa the first place, second place and third place, tapi the interval between first and second ni dia tak sama dengan interval between 2 dan 3. The gap between 1 and 2 ni tak sama dengan 2 and 3. Okay, and then when we go to the interval ni, okay, we use numbering again. Numbering we use to differentiate between the group. Okay, and then the numbering has the ranking order attributes. Okay, and then another attribute is the difference between each ranking ni, 1, 2, 2 and 3 ni, it has similar, they have similar interval. They have equal interval. Okay. Okay, but the weaknesses, again, the weaknesses of interval ni, 0 ni not necessarily means 0. No absolute 0 untuk interval ni. No absolute 0. 0 ni means something. For example, temperature. Okay, the easiest example lah. Another example is cognitive score. Cognitive score ni, for example, your exam. You attended one exam, okay, and then you score 0. For example, you attend DCE3004 lecture, quiz, but the quiz that I cover for that particular exam day is on data analysis. So for example, Pravesh score 0. For example, si Pravesh je kena. Okay, so is it mean that Pravesh know nothing about the research method?
No.
No.
Why? Because the topic that I cover for that particular day only on data analysis. You know, the data analysis not yet being covered. So that's why Pravesh score 0. So the cognitive ni, it is very difficult to measure. Okay, and then if let's say you score 0, doesn't mean that you know nothing about that particular subject. Itu maksudnya cognitive. Cognitive, something yang related to thinking ni. Let's say you score 0, not necessarily mean absence of the attribute. Okay. Okay, the next one is ratio. Okay, this ratio ni again, we use numbering to differentiate between categories. Okay, and then the number that we use has order, should be in order. Okay, it should be in ranking order, and then the interval between each number. So each number that we use ni, they have equal interval. Okay, and then the next attributes of ratio is it has the attributes of true 0, absolute 0. 0 means 0. 0 means the absence of the attribute. Okay, faham The difference ni, faham Okay, so this one. So this is the summary.
Faham doktor.
So this is the summary of all the 4 scale of measurement. Okay, so the nominal ni, okay, we start with the sequence of variables is established. So the sequence ni meaning that ranking order. Okay, so only ranking order ni we only can establish it through in ordinal, interval and ratio scale of measurements only. Okay, and then to calculate mode. What is mode? Mode. What is mode?
Kekerapan.
Frekuensi.
Ya ke mode ni frekuensi?
Just number.
The largest number. Dia bukan frekuensi Frekuensi ni bilangan untuk setiap group. Okay, mode ni the highest frequency. The highest frequency of certain the group with highest frequency. Dia bukan setakat frekuensi. The highest frequency, the group with highest frequency. Okay, so kalau for mode ni, yes, it is possible to get the mode to get the mode for nominal, ordinal, interval and ratio. Okay, and then median, it is not applicable. Median ni apa? Median.
Nombor kat tengah.
Penengah. Nombor kat tengah. Bukan mean nombor kat tengah. Dia lain. It is different with mean. Okay, so for median ni, it is not possible to get the median for nominal because the numbering that we use only to differentiate between group only. Okay, but it is possible to get the median for ordinal, interval and ratio scale of measurement. Okay, and then mean. Okay, so mean ni only applicable for interval and ratio. Mean ni only applicable for scale of measurement that has similar equal interval, Okay, so in this context, it refers to interval and ratio only. Okay, and then difference between the variables can be evaluated. It is only applicable for interval and ratio. Addition and subtraction of variable only applicable for interval and ratio. Multiplication and division of variable only applicable for ratio. And absolute zero only applicable for ratio. Okay, so far any question? Okay, so tak ada Okay, so hopefully for those who want to do the quantitative research, okay, you try to identify which variables that you are going to choose, which instrument that you are going to select, okay, and then match it with your scale of measurement. So then now match with your objective. Is it possible to achieve the objective through this particular scale of measurement or instrument? Okay. Okay, so based on the scale of measurement that we have just now, okay, it will determine the statistical analysis appropriate for that particular variable with that scale of measurement. Okay, if let's say you have variable with nominal, okay, nominal scale of measurement, for example, this one particularly in your demographic section. Most of the time, those who do the quantitative, okay, you will have the nominal variable under your demographic section. Okay, so for example, you want to include gender in your demographic section. So meaning that in this section for the gender variable ni, you can get the frequency, you can get the percentage, measure of central tendency. A measure of central tendency ni, it reflects the mean, mode and median. But in this case, for nominal ni, the applicable only mode. Guys, just to let you know, measure of central tendency ni, it reflects three analysis, which is mean, mode and median. Okay, when I mentioned about MCT, measure of central tendency, it reflects mean, mode and median. Okay, but for nominal, only mode applicable. Okay, only for nominal, only for the MCT category ni, only mode sahaja yang applicable. Okay, and then the chi-square correlation and contingency correlation. Okay, let's say you have the variable with nominal, it is possible for you to run the correlation, but you need to use the chi-square correlation, chi-square analysis. Okay, faham? So far faham?
Faham doktor?
Faham. Faham doktor.
Sekejap sekejap. Okay. Ada tadi. Okay, so next one is ordinal. Okay, so ordinal ni it will involve all calculation of the previous level. Nominal might be performed. So you can perform all these analysis for ordinal. For example, variable with ordinal ni adalah umur. Umur. Okay, for example, you want to locate tapi umur tak boleh. Sekejap. Kejap. Apa variable yang biasa you all pakai nominal, ordinal. Example of ordinal selain daripada ni.
Level of education.
Level of education. Boleh? Okay. Boleh. So level of education for example. Okay. Siapa yang jawab tu? Bagusnya awak. Okay. So for example we have one diploma. Okay. Two we have degree. Okay. Bachelor degree. Okay, third one is we have master. Okay, and then four we have PhD, for example. Okay. So this one, we know the ranking order. Okay, number represent, but in this case 4 ni represent something better lah. Dia terbalik, saya guna terbalik ni. Sepatutnya 4 ni untuk PhD lah, macam tu lah. Okay, tapi we use like, but numbering to give certain, give meaning. Okay, and then based on this one, okay, you can get the frequency, sama frequency, you can get the mode, okay, and then you can run the correlation, okay, you can run the correlation. You can also get the median, the value, the group with highest frequency, okay. Apa lagi? Ni contoh, this is one of the example for nominal. Okay? Okay, saya balik. Alamak. Okay. So, median might be calculated as a measure of central tendency. Okay, and then you can also get the percentile and quartile. Percentile ni percentage. Okay, quartile, okay, and some additional non-parametric statistic might be used. Okay, for example, you can run the Spearman rank order correlation. Ingat tak when I mentioned last few weeks when you want to run the correlation, there are two types of analysis available. Spearman rank order and Pearson product moment correlation. Okay, so Spearman rank order ni applicable if your variables is in ordinal. If your variable is in ordinal, okay, then it is possible for you to run the Spearman rank order correlation. Okay, the next one is interval. Okay, so again, almost every statistical tools available. Okay, you can use most of the statistical analysis for variable with interval scale of measurement, and then all the previously allowed tools might be used, meaning that you can use the frequency, percentage, measure of central tendency, which is referring to mean, mode, and median. Okay, and then you can also get the median. Okay. And then mean and standard deviation, both frequently used calculation of central tendency and variability becomes available for use at this level. So for this level, for interval ni, you can get the mean and standard deviation. Okay, and then the only statistical tools that should not be used at this level are those that require the use of ratios such as the coefficient of variation. Okay, so this is only limitation lah for interval. Okay, and then The ratio ni pula, you can use all the statistical analysis. If you have your variable at this scale of measurement, okay, you can run any available analysis. Okay, example of ratio interval ni adalah sama lah tadi, like scale 1 to 5 tu. Itu that one is the example of interval. Another example is temperature. Okay, for ratio ni, okay, the example is very easy. It may related to any value that ranges from 0 until infinity. Okay, negative infinity to infinity. Dia boleh macam tu. Okay, so ratio ni example is age. Age, if let's say you collect your data, okay. For example, you collect your data under your demographic section, you locate age, and then you leave it blank. Okay, meaning that you want your respondent to exactly locate their true age, their actual age. Okay, another age data that you may collect is in group. Okay, for example, 20 to 25, sorry, 21. 21 to 25, 26 to 30. Sama tak interval dia?
Sama.
31 to 35, 36 to 40. Okay, just a quick check lah. Okay, this one referring to which scale of measurement? Pravesh?
Interval.
This one in Pravesh. This one.
Ratio.
Tengok betul-betul. Is it possible to get the mean from this data?
Yes.
Yes.
Nominal.
Nominal.
Equal.
Interval lah tak?
Tengok elok.
Ordinal.
Ordinal. This one is ordinal. Why? First, for example, we use numbering. Example saya tak letak je numbering tu supaya you all boleh reflect. 1. Okay. 2. 3. Okay. 4. Okay. Sekarang, first numbering we use to differentiate between category. Category 1, category 2, category 3, category 4. Correct? The second one is the group of 26 to 30 ni higher than the group 21 to 25. Am I correct?
Yes.
So it started to have the ranking order. So ini adalah ordinal. But my question, is it possible for you to get the mean for this variable?
Yes.
Possible
Boleh lah.
tak?
Yes. Possible.
Yes. Possible
Yes.
tak? Cuba tengok.
Boleh.
Possible.
Cuba tengok attribute saya letak kat sebelah ni.
Possible.
Geram pula aku rasa. Cuba tengok attribute kat sebelah tu. Is it possible to get the mean for ordinal scale of measurement? Baru je ajar, kata faham. Ada tak saya tulis mean kat situ? Tak ada kan? How can you get the mean here? For example, your respondent, okay, who the age is between 25 and 21 and 25 is the frequency, for example, equals to 4, 5. Okay, and then this one, the frequency is 10. This one, the frequency is 6. This one is the frequency is 6. You akan dapat mean tak?
Tak.
Oh, because you do not know this 5 frequency, how many of them that the age is 21? How many of them is the age is 23? You do not know. So therefore, you cannot get the mean. What you can get is only the first you can get the frequency, okay, then you can get the percentage, okay, and then you can get the mode, okay, the mode, the the mode here is 10, this group, okay, right, okay, betul tak?
Yes.
Yes.
Then how we calculate the median? Mana nak calculate median? So our n is our n is 30, right? 12 berapa kita punya n ni? 10, 16,
27.
9 lah kat sini. Jadi 30. So what is our median? Okay, 5 so our median is n plus 1 divide by
26 to 30.
so kat mana? Sini.
26 to 30.
26 to 30 sini juga sama dengan mode. Equals to mode, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so this is the limitation for ordinal. You cannot get the mean. But if let's say you collect your data like this, so each you let the respondent personally state their age. For example, my age is 32. Example. Okay, and then yours probably 23. For example, 23. Okay, and then at the end of the day, you have the frequency n equals to 30. Okay, is it possible for you to get the mean if let's say you collect your data with this?
Yes.
Yes.
Now yes, you can get the mean. How to get the mean? You just add all the stated age, 32 plus 23 plus 23 blah 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 blah. And then divide by 30. If let's say you have 30 respondents. This one, yes, it's possible for you to get the mean. But for this one, when you collect your data in categorical form, it is not possible for you to get the mean because you do not know exactly the age for your respondents. You can get the frequency, but you do not know how many of them the age is 24. How many of them the age is 23. Okay, so this is the limitation. When you want to insert your variables under, when you want to insert the variables under your demographic factor, you may consider all these consequences. Okay, kita tak boleh main letak je, suka hati je letak. Orang letak dalam bentuk kategori dan you want to insert in categorical form. But the reason why you insert it, you do not know. You just follow the previous researcher. Okay, so now you should be able to know the reason why you locate a certain attributes for the variable in your study. Do not simply locate. If you think that it is not necessary for your study, then omit them from your study. Jangan ikut researcher lepas. Kalau saya paling pantang. Kalau student saya, bila saya tanya, dia cakap, saya ikut past researcher, doktor. Saya paling pantang kalau dengar that statement. Okay, make sure you know exactly why you choose that selected variable. Kalau if let's say previous study use demographic factor, for example, gender, age, marital status, apa lagi? Marital status, work experience. Janganlah pula if let's say your study is related to students leadership, then you want to insert you want to insert factors, for example, working experience. Okay, make sure it is related to your study. Jangan simply letak je. Kenapa pilih? Saya ikut kajian lepas. Tu memang minta menyekeh lah tu. Okay, so faham This one faham?
Faham, doktor.
Okay. This one, what scale of measurement for age this one? Untuk this one je. What is the scale of measurement for each? For each in this form. Bukan in this form in this form. Siapa boleh jawab?
Interval lah doktor.
Ratio.
Ratio.
Why ratio? Because zero. You look at a zero, Pravesh. Ada tak orang yang 0 years old?
Tak ada.
Zero.
Ada.
Yalah. Okay.
Ordinal lah.
So it is, mana boleh ordinal? 0. If let's say 0 represent the
Ratio.
0 represent the non-existent of any attribute, then it is ratio. Okay? Pravesh? Boleh Pravesh?
Boleh doktor, boleh.
Ada tak orang yang Pravesh jumpa dan you tanya, how old are you? I'm 0 years old. Ada tak? Macam pelik.
Belum lagi.
Belum lagi. Okay, so this one. Okay, so faham So far faham?
Faham.
Faham doktor.
Okay. So very good. So next one boleh proceed lah. Okay. So now we are going to proceed with validity. Okay. Nak rehat ke boleh proceed? Boleh proceed.
Rehat.
35.
Rehat 5 minit.
Yes, doktor.
Okay, shall we proceed?
Yes, doktor.
Okay, tadi saya betulkan sikit lah, baru saya terlintas kenapa Pravesh confused tadi. Okay, sorry This one yang related to age tu, 0 age years old tu, 0 years old tu means that it is referring to newly born. Okay, newly born baby, 0 years old. Okay, sorry. Ada, memang ada 0 years old tu. Okay. Tapi zero tu tak lahir lagi. Tapi dia adalah 1 hari, 2 hari. Okay. Faham tak? Okay, so next one we proceed with validity. Okay, so both reliability and validity ni are the two criteria used to judge the quality of all standardized quantitative measures. So when after you choose your instrument, to measure your variables, okay, the next step is we want to measure how this instrument ni, either this instrument ni reliable or valid. Okay, so the validity refers to the extent to which an instrument measures what it purports to measure with investigated subjects. Maksud dia apa? Ni yang saya kena tanya betul-betul so that I need to make sure that you really understand what does it mean. The instrument validity refers to the extent to which an instrument measures mana nak kecilkan ni? Okay, the instrument measures what it is supposed to measure. Apa maksud dia? I need someone to just translate to Malay only.
Dia kena ukur apa yang dia ukur.
Mengukur apa yang
dia patut ukur.
Mengukur apa yang sepatutnya diukur. And then you may say, kenapa pula dia tak mengukur apa yang dipatutkan? Kita dah pilih. Then how sure are you? The selected instrument, your selected instrument ni reflect your variable. How can we check? Secara practically, how can we check? What are the things that required for you to ensure that the instrument that you select, okay, is measuring what you want to measure? Any idea? First, your operational definition. The second one is the instrument. There are two things that you need to start your checking process. The instrument itself, the second one is your operational definition. Okay, to make sure your instrument valid, we need to check either the instrument that you choose reflect your operational definition. Dia macam seolah-olah macam ni. The example that I always use in my lecture, if let's say I want to measure Pravesh, the analogy, the simplest analogy. Okay, let's say I want to measure Pravesh. Okay, perhaps the element that I may include in my instrument is, okay, Pravesh hair color is black. Black coat, tak ada merah kan? Pravesh kan? Black coat. Black. Okay. His tone color is brown. Okay. Apa lagi? How much your height is? Height?
175, doktor.
175. Tinggi tak? Okay, the height is 175. 175. Betul tak? 175. Okay, and then the weight is?
70.
70 kilogram. Oh, feet lah, feet. Okay, so I include these 4 elements. Wait, I want to measure, I want to know about Pravesh. So in my measurement, I include these 4 elements. hair color. Okay, perhaps hairstyle. I want to change hairstyle, skin tone. Okay, skin tone probably dekat muka dia gelap sikit sebab dia main sport, probably. Okay, dekat lengan kat sini ni mungkin cerah sikit. So I want to include the element of skin tone. The third one, I want to include the element of weight and then the head. 4 elements, 4 things. So meaning that if let's say my instrument cover these 4 things, I need to make sure that my operational definition also include these 4 elements. Faham? If in my operational definition I include these 4 elements of head, weight, hairstyle and skin tone, I need to make sure that these 4 elements being covered in my instrument. Okay, only then I can say that the instrument, my selected instrument measure what it is supposed to measure. Faham? Faham?
Faham doktor.
Faham Itu the simplest word supaya you all faham dulu. Dia punya konsep.
Doktor saya nak tanya.
Ya.
Tadi doktor kata yang 4 perkara tu merupakan instrumen. Kan?
Dia bukan instrumen.
Tapi
the elements that I want to include in my instrument.
oh, okay.
Dia boleh jadi dalam instrumen tu nanti probably dia akan, for example, under a hairstyle, okay, Pravesh preferred black hair. Okay, the second one, Pravesh preferred a style rambut yang belah tengah, for example. Tu belah tepi, for example belah tengah. Amirul nak gelak ke apa? Okay, tu the example. Okay, and then the weight pun. Okay, the weight during while actively involved in training, so perhaps Pravesh will maintain the weight of 70 kilo. But during MCO, Pravesh weight increased to 80 kilos. For example. Tapi dia still dalam komponen weight. Okay. And then head ni sebab dah consistent lah, biasanya dah 20 years old and above ni, you may have the last head height lah tu, which is 175. Faham? The skin tone pula. The skin tone mungkin bila tak ada training, colour dia cerah sikit. Macam saya lah. Kalau cerah sikit, bila duduk rumah dia cerah sikit. Okay? Time training mungkin gelap sikit. So faham tak? The element that, the instrument tu, the items inside the instrument, okay, it is reflect the component that you use in your operational definition. Faham? Faham?
Faham doktor.
Faham doktor?
Faham Farhana?
faham doktor.
Okay, so the next question raised is, who's going to check this alignment? The alignment between your instrument and your operational definition. Itu ada soalan dia. Itu yang akan nanti later we will translate into the types of validity. Sebab the component needed, the necessary component when if let's say you want to conduct the validity, okay, these are the 2 important components. Okay, your instrument as well as your operational definition. Okay, faham Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, bukan mistaken lah, I'm sure that I've already uploaded 2 Excel files inside the Putra Blast. Okay, for this week activity actually. Tapi kita ada lagi activity yang belum habis untuk for lab 2 actually. Okay, for that one, for the first Excel file, it is related to instrumentation in quantitative research. I provide you with 1 Excel and then I provide you with one column for you to locate your operational definition as well as your conceptual definition. And then for each variables, for example, I thought in that exercise there are 2 independent variables and 1 dependent variable. Okay, you need to search for your instrument. Okay, start to look for your instrument. Okay, I also provide the one column for source. Source means that referring to which author that you refer to when you want to get that particular instrument. Okay, each variable should have their own instrument. Okay, so itu kolom yang you all kena masukkan lah. So sebenarnya for lab 1, I do not want to have lab session this week because I want to give you field study in which you need to go search for your instrument. Okay, this week there is no lab session for week 1, but for week lab 2 we are going to have the week lab session, which is the presentation on your research design. Okay, untuk lab 1 tak ada, esok tak ada kelas. Okay, so
Doktor,
apa dia?
faham.
Okay, faham dan suka sangat lah tu, tak ada kelas tu. Okay, so next one is okay, so validity refers to the extent to which an instrument measures what it purports to measure with investigated subject. So this is done. Instrument validity consists of phase validity, content validity, criterion related validity, and construct related validity. Okay, so there are 4 types. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 types of validity: phase validity, content validity, criterion related validity, and construct related validity. So an instrument is simply valid for measuring a particular purpose an instrument is simply valid for measuring a particular purpose and for a designated group. Okay, that is, an instrument can be valid for measuring a group of specific subject but can become invalid for another. Okay, so maksudnya the item that you use sometimes to measure your group of respondent might not necessarily be able to be used for another group. Okay, so that's why when you choose your instrument, okay, you have the original version first, okay, and then the second one is you need to adapt. You need to adapt. The first one that you have from the original version probably been implemented for another group. Okay, but now you want to implement this instrument to your selected group, for example, among students. So you need to make sure that each items indicated in the instrument, okay, is applicable for your study. Meaning that you need to adapt lah. Kalau adapt ni, you need to change. Maksud dia change according to your respondent. Okay. And then for example, a valid 4th grade math achievement test is unlikely to be a valid math achievement test for 2nd graders. Okay, in another instance, a valid 4th grade math achievement test is unlikely to be a valid aptitude test for 4th graders. So the instrument ni dia probably sesuai untuk satu kajian tapi dia tak sesuai untuk kajian lain disebabkan perbezaan responden. Okay, faham? That's why when you do quantitative research, even though your title are similar, but if let's say you use your different operational definition and you use different target group, okay, your research shouldn't be similar walaupun tajuk sama. Okay, kecuali you all copy and paste, itu sahaja. Biasanya research, even though the titles are similar, but if you use the different operational definition and different target group, the definition will be different. And even though the research ni sama, operational definition sama, but if let's say your respondent are different, probably your operational definition pun akan berubah. Dia memang takkan sama walaupun tajuk sama. That's why saya tak takut pasal plagiarism in quantitative research. Walaupun dia nampak sama tapi dia tetap takkan sama. Okay, So next one, we proceed with the types of validity. The first one is phase validity. Okay, so the phase validity reflects to the extent to which an instrument or a measurement method appears on its phase to measure the construct of interest. Having a large sample of people rates a measure in terms of whether it appears to measure what it is intended to measure. It is usually assessed informally, can be assessed quantitatively, and then very weak kind of evidence for validity. Okay, so phase validity ni, okay, the first question that raised when you want to assess the validity and then why you look for the instrument is, who's going to assess your instrument validity? Siapa? Who is responsible to assess your instrument validity? Siapa? To assess the validity, who is responsible? The first one?
Supervisor.
First one.
The researcher itself.
The researcher themselves. Very good. Sebab you all yang buat research. Macam mana you all tak boleh include you all yourself dalam proses research kan? So first person is you yourself. Okay? You yourself as researcher. So phase validity ni, it involve the process of the researcher itself when they look for the instrument. Okay? At the first phase, at its phase, you believe that this instrument can measure my variable according to this particular operational definition. Itu maksud dia. First phase, because you are the one you are the person who responsible to look for the instrument. So at the first phase, when you look for the instrument, after you go through the items, then you believe that this item is reflecting my operational definition for my variable. Itu the first process. Okay, and then you want to reconfirm, then you may refer to your supervisor. Right. First, maksudnya untuk phase validity, there are two person may involve. The first one, the investigator himself or herself. The second one is the expert in the area, which is your supervisor. Kadang-kadang jangan letak supervisor dalam thesis untuk check your validity. Check, make sure you locate the expert in the area, which is your supervisor. Okay? Okay. Untuk phase validity itu sahaja basically. The researcher and then the supervisor. Two person involved. Okay, the supervisor, the investigator and the supervisor. Okay, so kalau if let's say the investigator, for example you yourself, in which we consider as a novice researcher. Okay, so that's why it is considered to be very weak kind evidence because it is based on novice view. Kan, you tak ada experience lagi berkenaan dengan research, so that's why we consider as phase validity ni as the weakest evidence of validity. Because you might lack of experience, you might not know to what extent actually this instrument is measuring your instrument, your operational definition. Faham? Faham untuk phase validity? Faham?
Betul.
Okay. The second one is content validity. Okay, the extent to which a measure covers the construct of interest. The extent to which a measure covers the construct of interest. For example, attitudes are usually defined as involving thought, feelings, and actions towards something. Meaning that a person has a positive attitude towards exercise to the extent that he or she thinks positive thoughts about exercising, feels good about exercising and actually exercise. Okay, and then assess carefully by checking the measurement method against the conceptual definition of the construct. Okay. This one, if you still remember the example that I given earlier regarding how to measure pravesh. There are 4 things: hairstyle, skin tone, height and weight. 4 things. Sama lah macam ni. Okay. So in content validity, you start to explore further, in which you identify the components as in your operational definition. Either these components tally with the items in the instrument or not. If you aware, okay, in the Excel sheet that I've shared, okay, the process on how to conduct the content validity is the one that I always use previously, is by using that Excel sheet. Okay, I need to have your operational definition. Okay, and then I need you to list down all the items. So that based on your operational definition, I will identify either your items will reflect your operational definition or not. Itulah dia proses content validity. Faham? And then the content validity will be conducted by expert. Okay, by the expert. There are two types of expert. Academic expert. The second one is practical expert. Expert in practice. Okay, dan expert in practice ni boleh jadi someone living in the situation itself, or someone who managing that person. Faham? Faham? The difference between phase validity and content validity? Faham? Content validity ni, we want to make sure that, okay, the elements defined in our operational definition ni being reflected in our items. The person responsible to check for content validity is expert. Expert can be expert in academic and expert in practice. Expert in practice can be someone who living in the area or someone who manage that person. Faham? Okay. Berapa dah? Ada yang sikit lagi. Saya habiskanlah kalau sempat untuk validity. Okay, the next one is criterion validity. Okay, so criterion validity ni it's reflect the extent to which people score on a measure are correlated with other variable known as criteria that one would expect them to be correlated with. Okay, for example, people score on a new measure of test anxiety should be negatively correlated with their performance on an important school exam. Okay, if it were found that people score, okay, so logically we can say that test anxiety ni will be negatively correlated with their performance in exam. Okay, and then if it were found that people's score were in fact negatively correlated with their exam performance, then this would be a piece of evidence that these scores really represent people test anxiety. Faham? So secara logiknya, anxiety ni can influence performance, student study performance negatively. Okay, kalau if let's say the result show indicated that yeah, there is a negative relationship between anxiety and performance, yes, it is proven that it is an element to prove the criterion validity. But if it were found that people scored equally well on the exam regardless of their test anxiety scores, then this would cast doubt on the validity of the measure. Criterion validity ni, to reflect the criterion validity, you need to have two different instruments. In phase validity, you need to have one. In content validity, you need to have one. Okay, but in criterion validity, you need to have two instruments to compare, to check. Okay, if logically the items, the first construct negatively correlated with the second construct, but then after you conduct your study, yes, the relationship is negative, then it is proven the criterion validity. But if your study found that the relationship is comparable with those with anxiety and then those with non-anxiety cases, so this is we'll have the question of the criterion validity. Faham? Okay, so the criterion validity ni have two type. It has two type. Okay, when the criterion is measured at the same time as the construct, criterion validity is referred as concurrent validity. Okay, and then if let's say the criterion validity is measured at some point in the future, which is after the construct has been measured, it is referred to as predictive validity. Okay, because cause on the measure have predicted a future outcome. So dia ada dua, concurrent validity, predictive validity. Okay, and then criteria can also include other measures of the same construct. For example, one would expect new measures of test anxiety or physical risk taking to be positively correlated with existing measures of the same construct. This is known as convergent validity. Okay, so memang tak habis lah hari ni ni. Okay, so it's okay for the time being. Saya rasa saya nak stop kat sini je dulu. Okay, so just remember, okay, that the criterion validity, if let's say in term of time frame, there are two types. Okay, concurrent validity, which is you conduct the validity ni, you get with the two construct, you concurrently get the result. Okay, that one is concurrent validity. Okay, but predictive validity ni, okay, you conduct one test, but the result you can see in the future. For example lah, for predictive validity is, okay, those good scorer in SPM is expected to is expected to excel during their degree study. For example, if let's say, okay, it is found out that, okay, those scorer, those top performer during SPM failed to perform well during their bachelor degree study. So this instrument may say may fail to prove the predictive validity. But if let's say the instrument that we have, the entry level, for example, another exam is on the entrance level of, bila you all nak apply for degree, for example, you have one exam. Okay, entrance examination. Okay, so this entrance examination will predict who will perform during their degree study. Okay, if let's say before you enter the bachelor degree and then you attend this exam. Okay, so for the first year, it is proven that those who score higher in the entrance examination perform better during their degree study. So it is proven that this instrument, this entrance examination ni has good predictive validity. Faham? Faham? Predictive ni maksudnya result tu you all akan dapat in the future. You have two instrument. Okay, the first instrument you use to measure the predictive ni, then the result tu you can see the future. Mungkin dalam masa 6 months, 1 year, 2 years and so on. Faham? Kalau concurrent ni, when you conduct the instrument, you use still two instrument but you run it concurrently at the same time. Okay? Okay, so I stop there. Okay, we will continue next week. Slide dia sikit je tapi dia kena explain detail. Okay, so any questions so far? Yang convergent validity ni I will explain next week. Tu dulu. Dia ada convergent, dia ada divergent. Banyak. Okay, so any question so far? No. Any question? Related to scale of measurement, related to validity? What we cover so far? Tak ada soalan
Doktor boleh bagi example untuk concurrent validity tak?
Apa dia?
Example untuk concurrent validity ni.
Concurrent validity for sure. Concurrent validity ni, Okay, so the earlier, I give another example. Okay, because I see it as criteria validity ni, you need to have two instruments. You need to have two measures. Okay, you want to measure the concurrent you want to measure the criterion validity for the first instrument, but you need another instrument to test this to test the criterion validity for the first instrument ni. You need to have two, yours and then another one. Okay, so for the concurrent validity ni, to test the concurrent validity ni, for example, logically, okay, those kejap saya cari example. Okay, those with no family, with those that live without broken family. Maksudnya those who has a normal state of family will perform better at work. Those with no family conflict lah, what I want to say. Okay, perform better at workplace. Okay, logically, siapa yang tak ada masalah keluarga sangat will perform better at workplace. Okay, so we have one instrument measuring conflict at home, another instrument measuring performance at workplace. Two instrument. Okay, then we conduct our data collection. Okay, we run our data collection, we collect our data, we run the analysis, and then we get the result, and then it is proven that, okay, those with a low level of conflict at home has higher level of performance at workplace. So it is proven the criterion validity. Walaupun kajian tu menunjukkan correlation, but at the same time it will prove the criterion validity. Faham? Faham tak?
Faham.
Dia tak sama. Kalau predictive ni, you did the test in 2015, for example, but the result tu can be in 2016. But for concurrent validity ni, you collected the data at a similar time. You get the result at similar point. You still use two instrument. Tapi data collection tu berlaku pada masa yang sama. For predictive, the first data collection happened in 2015, but the second one, the result, the output ni, you can get the data perhaps in 2 years after. That one is predict. They will predict. Sebab this instrument ni dia boleh digunakan untuk predict. Faham tak? Dia punya application macam ni kalau untuk predictive ni. If let's say it is consistently been proven that the entrance exam that you use ni, the questionnaire, the exam question that you use for entrance exam ni able to predict the top scorer during the bachelor degree. So that's why dia akan gunakan instrumen ni untuk memilih pelajar. That's why kalau you perasan, ada kursus-kursus tertentu, macam contoh guru, dia ada exam sebelum masuk. Sebab that exam, okay, has been proven to have the criteria, proven to have the predictive validity. Dia dah membuktikan bahawa those yang ada bagus, those yang score untuk that entrance level ni will hold the specific characteristic in the future to be entitled, for example, as a teacher. Faham? That's why saya rasa mungkin untuk HR ni, kita in the future kita perlukan exam code untuk entrance level. Untuk kita pilih orang yang betul-betul in the future, dia memang boleh jadi dia ada set this kind of criteria untuk jadi HR officer. For example, faham tak? Itu predictive. Kalau concurrent ni, kita buat data collection tu sama. Kita tak tunggu 2 tahun, 3 tahun untuk dapatkan result. Okay, kita just tengok based on correlation dia. Faham? Faham?
Faham, Doktor.
Okay, so any other question? We have 1 more minute. Ada lagi?
Doktor, yang untuk esok tu group tu individu.
Group Rahia. Group, because you do your project in group, so it should be in group lah. Okay, that one saya nak check untuk validity. That's why untuk that one saya tak adalah measure individually untuk your group ni. So maksudnya I will give the mark according to the whole group lah later. Tapi itulah the process yang saya selalu buat dengan student saya. Okay, saya akan bagi that Excel sheet supaya, tapi saya sebenarnya baru implement this semester bagi Excel sheet tu. Sebab saya baru improve dengan student saya yang saya supervise during their final year project. So I thought it's better. So saya pun try implement dekat you all pula. Untuk you all lagi nampak. Okay? Any other question? Ada dah. Any question macam mana nak cari instrumen, macam mana nak cari, macam mana nak locate? For those who do the qualitative, you may use the second Excel, but you may use the second Excel to prepare for your research protocol. But for the study purpose, okay, I do hope that you try to understand as well the first the first Excel sheet tu. Takut nanti in the future when you want to do your final year project paper individually, you might forget the step. Okay, so at least fahamkan juga macam mana nak buat. Okay, sebab as a researcher ni you all kena faham dua-dua, quali and quanti. Dia tak boleh walaupun you memang nak buat quali tapi you tak nak kisah pasal quanti, no. It cannot be it cannot be happen. It shouldn't be happen. Macam saya, walaupun I prefer to do quantitative, okay, but most of my student do qualitative. Most of my students, saya rasa more than 50 lah walaupun saya quanti. Most of my students do qualitative, PhD, Master Science. Okay, so as researcher you kena tahu dua-dua. Okay, so any other question? Ada. Okay, so if there is no more questions, so we stop here. Okay, so let's for lab 2, let's make on this Thursday. For lab 1, let's make next week. Okay, so stay safe, stay home, take care everybody. Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.